Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be back with you. It's been a couple weeks and welcome. Today is Friday, July 7th, 2023. I'm Kathy Ondas with Simply Cards by Kathy, and I can't wait to share with you our diagonal recessed panel technique. And we're going to make a birthday card with that. I just want to take a quick minute to thank all of you for your support. I had so many emails and messages wishing us well with the pup and his surgery, so I can't thank you enough. And I'm excited to get started. Just a quick message to let you know the clearance rack has kind of been updated as of yesterday. There's some new online products that have also come out. So lots going on with Stampin' Up. Not so much has been going on with Simply Cards by Kathy, but that's all going to change starting today. So let's flip this down and get started, okay? All right, let's get you back to a single view. There we go. So we are going to make a diagonal recessed panel. Now it's called a technique, but it can also be called a card. And I am going to show you what it looks like. And this one isn't as dressed up as the one we're going to make. So, but there's several ways you can do this. So we're going to talk about that as we go along. So I want to show you the products we're going to use really quickly. All of them are in the annual catalog. So I am using for my designer series paper, the inked botanicals. And I just want to bring those in. I love these papers. I particularly love the colors. I'm on my second set of papers and just really pretty. Could be used for summer, can use them in the fall. I just really think they're gorgeous. And we're going to be using this for our recess panel. So there they are. And then if I flip them over, you have a variety of other patterns, almost like some wheat and leaves and floral, and you have a plaid. So I would highly recommend this paper. We're also going to be using, I've used one of the basics 3D embossing folders. This one is the one that looks like a hashtag. I'm using the two-tone Flora stamps and dies. Okay, and you'll see that on the card. That's the die cuts from here. And then for my sentiments, I used two different stamp sets. I used Something Fancy for the inside, and then I used Charming Sentiments with the die cuts for my outside sentiment. Now, use what you have. That happened to be what I pulled out to use and for this card. And so we're going to get started. All right, so let's bring in our supplies. I have everything here in a little basket. We're using the Very Vanilla, and this is the heavy cardstock. And this is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and just burnish it on the fold. I did fold it, but I just want to make sure I have a nice crisp fold. Now, one of the designer series papers is this floral, and I went ahead and cut it. Now, I'm layering, and I'm going to show you some cards afterwards that you can kind of take a little bit away, or you can add a little bit like I have. So I have a piece of Calypso Coral. This is going to be my first layer on my base, and this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Now, I'm going to tell you, don't really worry about writing all this down, because I am going to have it in my post for you. And I'm also going to have a diagram on how to cut the diagonal. And that link to my post will be available by 6 o'clock today, most likely before, because the post is almost done. And so just sit back, relax, and then you'll be able to get all that right off my website. So there we go. So I adhered the first one. And now I have two pieces of, one is designer series paper and one is Lost Lagoon. And these are both 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, I have made this card a couple different ways, and this is actually the easiest way, I think, to make it. So I'm going to use my designer series paper to create that diagonal, or to be the focal point on here. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the layer of Calypso Coral. Now it's important that these two layers, these two are the same as far as size, and you're going to see why as I cut that diagonal. Okay, so this is adhered, and we're going to be able to go ahead and set that off to the side. Now, here is what we're going to use to create the panels for the front of our card. Again, this is 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to bring in a pencil and a ruler. And the easiest way for me is to turn this on the long side, the 5 1/4. And I'm going to measure down and make a little tick mark at 3/4 of an inch. And then again at 1.5 inches. Okay, so you can see, and I'll erase those later on. So hopefully you can see those. Then I'm going to go over to the opposite side, and I'm going to make a tick mark at 3 inches. Okay, so we have our mark. Now we're going to cut on the diagonal. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and we're going to cut. Let me bring in the ruler so you can see this. We're going to cut from this first tick mark to the 3-inch mark. So we're going to be lining that up along the track of our cutter. And then the second cut is going to be from the 1.5 inch mark right to the corner of this layer. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to line up the 3/4 and the 3 inch. Oops. There we go. And just make a cut. And now I'm going to line up the 1.5 with the very edge of my layer. Okay. So now this piece we aren't going to use. You can use it for something else. I'm just going to set that off to the side, and we're going to get rid of our trimmer. So when you look at this, let's bring this back in. You have this top layer, and here's your bottom layer. Okay. I want to add a little bit to these 2 layers. So I've cut 2 3/8 inch strips of Calypso Coral. And we're going to go ahead and add that right to the edge here of our Lost Lagoon. So I'm going to bring in my silicone mat so that I don't get glue all over everything. And we're just going to flip this over, and I'm going to use my green glue or multi-purpose glue. And we're just going to go ahead and add this so that we have a little bit of that edge of Calypso coral. Okay. Want to just straighten that out just a little bit on this edge here. Okay, there's one. And now we're going to add another. Now you can see I've made it much longer than it needed to be, but I'm just going to go ahead and trim that off. And we're going to go ahead and add to this edge. And we're going to do the same. I hope you all had a great holiday weekend. Ours was very quiet. And that you have some fun plans for this weekend coming up. Okay, these are adhered, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take and just trim this off right along the edge of my diagonal, and again right here. So you can see you have some nice clean crisp edges there. And we're going to do the same with this one. Trim that off. And this one off. Okay. Now there's two ways we can adhere this to the front of our card. Okay. One would be to just glue it down, which is what I did on this one. But I want to pop it up because I want that to look more like, I want to accentuate that recessed panel. So I'm going to do that with Stampin' Dimensionals. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can use the Stampin' Dimensionals, or you could use your foam strips that we have. So, but I'm just going to pop it up with some dimensionals, and I want to take it back enough. I don't want to bring it up to the edge because I don't want you to see these dimensionals. So I'm going to put it back a little bit, and it's still going to adhere it quite well. And we'll be able to go from there. So now when we're done here, stick with me through to the end. I have another card I want to show you. And this is a great way to use up some of your designer series paper. Now, when I was playing with this panel, and I had told you I've tried it several different ways, even just cutting out that center panel, but I actually found that harder to do, and think this was one of the easiest ways to make this because it is a fun and quick card. So why make it harder than it needs to be? And let's just stick one right here in the middle and stick one right here in the middle. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to pull these off, and I'm going to grab my pick tool to do that a little bit quicker. If you're with me, leave me a comment. I'm thinking most people have not seen me for a while, and for the last 2.5 weeks, and may catch it on the replay. Drop those in here. Oops. Let's see if that came off completely. Let's put another one on there. Just going to grab another dimensional, and let's stick that down here. Some of my dimensionals, the bottoms have been sticking. Let's just pull this off. There we go. Now, this, I'm going to turn it on its side, and hopefully you can see, you're just going to line it right up with that piece of designer series paper. And there's our first panel. Now let's go ahead and do the second panel. And we'll get that on there. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I am so happy that you found me. And if you are returning and catching me live or on the replay, thank you so much for your support and following me and helping me grow my channel. You are always welcome to share my videos, case my cards, whatever helps you with your creativity and helps inspire you. Now I'm going to cut these. I do cut my dimensionals in half. They seem to go further, and I do use a lot. So that just kind of helps me with them. And, oops. All right, let's put one more here down here in the center. All right, I think we're ready to attach this. So now we're going to put the second layer or second panel on here to create our diagonal. Now, yesterday, the online exclusives rolled out for July, and the little truck is already sold out. But it will be coming back if that was one you were interested, the week of July, I believe, 17th. So, not to worry, it is not gone. I didn't even get mine ordered. It ran out before I got mine ordered. So, it will be back. So with your second panel, again, you want to line it up on that designer series paper. And here you go. Now, my angle here is just a little bit longer than I'd like it to be. So I'm just going to trim it down just a touch. There we go. So here's your diagonal. Hi, Marianne. Thank you for joining me. So here's our diagonal. Now you could just add your sentiment and maybe a bow and be done. But I wanted to add some flowers. And one of the stamp sets that I thought went really well with this, because I just want to add a little something right here, is the two-tone flora. Goes beautiful with this paper. So I am going to bring in just a piece of scrap, and I'm going to grab my piercing mat, because these are photopolymer stamps, and we're going to go ahead and stamp the flowers. Now I'm pulling out Calypso Coral. I am using Calypso Coral, Pool Party, and Lost Lagoon, all of them from the papers. So, Mary, you were smart. I didn't get mine ordered quite as quickly as you did. So, photopolymer two-step stamp. Now, I want to be able to stamp off. I want the inside color a little lighter. So I am going to grab, I keep spoons, plastic spoons nearby, and I'm simply going to go ahead and pull my ink, because this is pretty juicy, off away from the center. And I keep a little microfiber cloth here for everything. They wash up great, and you can get them anywhere, Target, Amazon. And I've inked this up, and I'm just going to stamp off lightly. And now I'm going to stamp my flower. Whoops. There you go. So color I was looking for. And now I'm going to ink up the second, the second step. And this is the detailed stamp. And I'm going to just leave that full strength. And to line this up, I am using, I want to show you right here, this open area in the center. matches this open area in the flower. So I line those up as best I can without getting my head in the camera here. And give it a good press. And now we're going to do our leaves. Now I chose to do Pool Party for the leaves because I thought they'd show up a little better since Lost Lagoon was our layer. So we're going to go ahead and ink up here. And I'm going to ink 3 of them. All right. And then we have our die cuts that'll cut those out. However, to save us a little time, I went ahead and I cut those out for us ahead of time. So I do have those here. And I went ahead and cut the greeting out. And again, I used the greeting from the Charming Sentiments and cut it out with the die. So let's get these on here. And we're going to use this to kind of decorate right about here. And I'm going to pop this up. Now, because you have a layer that's recessed, that is the only place you want to put your dimensionals. Because if you put them where this flower is going to lay, it's really going to raise it up a lot. And that'll look fine, but I like it where it's more even. So let's go ahead and we're going to put our dimensionals. I'm going to pop one here and one here. Now I'm going to add a glue dot, but I'm going to do that after the fact, once I get my flower where I want it. And again, I want to make sure that those are, I'm going to do that right about here. Now, if you're worried about this coming up, although this is pretty secure, you can always take a glue dot with the end of your pick tool. Just pick it up and pop it in under there. And it'll hold it down. So let's go ahead and add our leaves. I am going to add one here. And we're going to just use glue dots for these. You can use your multi-purpose glue. And see if the third one will fit right in here. Nah, let's just maybe go with 2. Let's try that. So let's pop this here. And I'm going to use another glue dot and just kind of pop that on here. And we're going to slide it in. So there's our flower. And now we're going to go ahead and adhere our greeting sentiment. I'm never quite sure what to call that. So let's get this on here. Now I am going to take a small piece like that I have here and just adhere it on the end. And then I have another small piece here that I'm just going to trim off. I always use the ends up. They work well. And let's go ahead and adhere this. And I'm just going to put this down right about here. Okay, now for our inside, I did cut a piece of Calypso Coral. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I also have a piece of 3 3/4 by 5 of just very vanilla, not the heavy. And I want to stamp my greeting. So I pulled the greeting from the Something Fancy, and it's I didn't forget your birthday. I'm just stretching out the celebration. And I want to stamp that in Calypso Coral. So I'm going to open that up, set that aside, but I want to add a decorative edge to this. So I took a piece of 1/2 inch by 5 1/4, or 5 inch, I'm sorry, 1/2 inch by 5 inch of Lost Lagoon. And then this is a 3/8 inch by 5 inch piece of Matching Designer Series paper. So let's go ahead and we're going to adhere these together. Just thought it looked kind of pretty to mat that with the Lost Lagoon. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to pop this over on this side today. And let's find I do a little bit better if I move it over or turn it so I can see the edge. So there's that. And now we're ready to stamp. And we're going to adhere this to our Calypso Coral. Just a little bit of an edge of the Calypso of the Lost Lagoon there, so trimmed it off. I think these colors are so pretty together. I love coral and like aquas. And then we're going to adhere this to the inside, and then we're going to add some embellishments, and our card is done. And I have a couple more to show you. So here we go. Here's a card. Let's add, I thought it would be fun to add some of the iridescent rhinestones. So we're going to pull in, I've got a lot of them here. I'm going to use the small one, and we're going to put one here and one here. And then let's pick up a medium one. And let's add that up here. So here's our card. So thank you, Mary. I'm glad you enjoy it. And just adding that little strip on the inside adds a lot to the card. Now, here's the one I showed you originally. And with this one, I reversed it. My cardstock, and I used the Petal Pink from In the Paper, and I just laid it down as a layer. And then I used my Designer Series paper and the Calypso Coral for the edging, and that became my focal point. And this is glued directly to that first layer of Petal Pink, so it's not popped up. It's still recessed, but not as dramatic as this one is. And then this one, I used, this is the butterfly paper that retired back in the spring, but I thought it was so pretty. And again, used the two-tone flora with just a single flower and did the same thing with the inside. So a couple different ways that you can do these recessed, diagonal recessed panels. So I am going to bring you back to me for a minute. I hope you enjoyed today's card. I certainly enjoyed doing it for you, and I'm so happy to be back with you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. You stay safe and well. And I promise you this week, I am going to be back with you on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. And we're going to have some fun. So stay tuned, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.